Hey guys, it's Dan at Lion Tower Miniatures here. Right, I'm just going to carry on with the Dwarf Blood Hunter sculpt. I'm going to add a little bit of like a cloth shawl around his shoulders, do some sleeves and a few extra little bits and bobs like that. Just to cover some of the softer materials. I'll do another tutorial afterwards. I'll add a little bit of fur. I'll show you how I do the fur, and then maybe, I don't know, a little bit of leather armour or weapons and things like that, and we'll cover off a few extra bits while I've just finished this this figure off. I'll probably finish with a tutorial on doing the head as well, so if there's anything else I think of that I'm going to do, I'll try and make sure I cover it off if it's a new technique. Yeah, let's just get started. So I've just finished the chainmail, I've just finished the tutorial on that. So I'm just going to go and add a sphere. In fact, no, I'm not first, sorry. Okay, first thing I need to do, stupidly, I've carried on working on this whilst this is still mannequin. I can't do anything with that, so I need to first go to, you see if I go to rotate now and I turn my polygroups on, you can see it's a proper mannequin. I can still rotate limbs and things like that. I don't want that. I can't sculpt onto that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to Adaptive Skin, right down the bottom of the Tools menu, and you click on Preview, and basically it creates the mesh that I'm working with, the frame, with polygroups, and turns it into like a big dynameshed structure. If I increase the density and the resolution, things like that, it gives me a bit more geometry to work with, but at this point I don't really want any of that, so I'm just going to go Preview. I'm just going to leave it as it is. Click Make Adaptive Skin. Okay, now that hasn't done anything in this window. If I turn Preview off, I'm back to having you know, the same old thing. But if I scroll up through my menu here now, I've now got a tool somewhere. There we go. Skin Z Sphere 1, which is actually the mesh that I was just working on. And I'm going to go to Subtool, Copy. I'm going to go back to the one I was working in. I'm going to paste it into here, and I'm just going to delete the Z-Sphere one. Okay, so basically that has just now meant that I can actually work with this base layer. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate that as well and keep a copy of it, and I'm going to go for Inflate, and in here I'm just going to inflate up the arms. Now this is kind of giving me a little bit of extra material to work with, which is perfect, is what I want. Let's do his legs, bulk his legs up as well. So again, I've not done any of the understructure of the muscles or any of that business. I've sculpted enough bodies in my time to understand how it goes. So I'm just going to get it nicely chunky. And bear in mind, we're talking a stylised 28 to 32mm scale figure. So I'm not looking at realistic proportions. I'm also talking about a dwarf here now, so again, I'm looking stocky, chunky. I'm going to adjust them boots in a bit as well, I think. But so his arms are bulked up a bit. I can always adjust the bits that are already on there, so that's not a concern. Increase the size of his forearm, a bit too much, but I'm going to cut back into this in a bit anyway with the clay build-up tools. So again, I'm not going to be too fussy. Let's go and get that. Okay, so right at this moment in time, you're looking at this going, what the hell is going on? Does this guy know what he's doing? I do, I promise you. I do it all the time. Move tool, I'm just going to address this one because this looks obscene. So let's just change that now. A little bit of smoothing going on as well. And I'm not going to worry too much about the stomach area. let's just turn off the other one. Okay, I'm just going to re-dynamesh that, so it's already dynameshed, so drag and drop, right click and drag. What I am going to do is I'm just going to smooth out some of the edges. So I'll take this off, you can see we've got some of these rough edges around here. I'm just going to go with the smooth tool and just go over all of that. And again, because we're talking cloth, I want loose cloth, I'm not talking anything too fitted or anything like that. If I was doing fitted, I'd have to sculpt the understructure and the under anatomy. That's not what I'm going for. So I'm going to take the build up the masses, build up the bulks, and I'll leave these little pegs in for the head and the hands and the feet and things like that until I've finalised everything, so just give me a placeholder. Okay, oh god. Right, now this guy's going to be wearing a belt in the end. Let's just taper in the top of the leg, bring that. A little bit of reshaping, bit of smoothing. I don't want him too lumpy and bumpy, but I don't want him super smooth. At the moment I'm fairly happy with that. I'm just going to go and boost his knee up a little bit, just shape his knee. Going to do like a little roll over on the top of his trousers, so they're like baggy trousers tucked into his boots, give him a bit of shape to his bit of interest. Because if you don't do things like this, the figures can look a little bit boring, a bit flat. And I want to create a kind of, if I zoom in here, you can see there's like a groove there, like a little V-shaped groove. So it's creating a little bit of a divide between the two. So if you imagine you're painting this model and you're going to be putting an ink wash over it, or you're going to be doing a bit of black lining to separate the transition between the colours from the boots to the trousers. Basically this is a nice little pickup line that will help you with doing that. It'll give you a nice cut-off point between the two colours. So, right, so let's just go and drag a knee into there a bit. Okay, so the next tool I'm going to use for this now, I'm going to call that as done as I need it to be. The next tool I'm going to use here is called the Orb Cracks Brush. Orb Cracks Brush, if you don't have this one, it's this one up in the top left corner. It comes from the Orbs brush set, which, what, a couple of dollars if you look online to download, and literally worth its weight in gold. You'll feel like you're cheating if you've never used it before. It's a brilliant brush. Absolutely one of my favourites. Got a visitor at the door. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to cut in the creases in the back of the leg. You see what I mean? It's like literally just done it in a second for me. So I'm going to do a little one here as well. And these ones I want to leave a little bit around the back of the knees. Because the knee's bent, I'm going to bring it up like that. I'm going to take another one from the back, bring it up. I'm just trying to figure out where the things can go. Now I'm going to go in with the Alt brush, so same brush again but with the Alt key, and I'm just going to go just underneath where I've just cut in. I'm going to create like a sharp ridge to it, and again there. And these ridges will basically give you a nice area to naturally highlight. I'm just going to come round the edge there. Okay, now I want to do a few of these ones without actually cutting in as well. And I mean, you could study cloth, you could have a look at how it goes, you could get somebody to stand there wearing similar clothes, and but I'm less interested in making something that is absolutely accurate. I'm more concerned with something that's going to paint nice. So, and again, bear in mind we're talking about a stylized version. Right, so I'm just using the large move brush again. If you use too small, you're going to end up creating like little anomalies and little facets on the surface of the model, which are going to look rubbish. So, here we go. So it's got nice, fat, chunky legs, suitable for a dwarf. That leg looks a bit bigger than this one to me, so I'm just going to make this one a little bit bigger. Now you see it's moving a hand, and I don't really care. I'm going to be doing something with that in a bit anyway, swapping it out. Okay. Now, bit there where the two came together, it was a little bit too much of a peak, if you like, so I'll just soften that out a little bit. Just going to run a ridge in there to give me a sharper line for the knee, and then soften that back in. And the same again here, let's just give him a sharper edge for the knee, and then we'll cut it in. Right, last thing I'll do is going to drop the size down a little bit. And I'm going to come into there and just create a few areas where tucks and folds and stuff like that. So this is again alternating between the normal size brush and the inverted one. Normal sized, the normal brush, the one that cuts in, and the one that is protruding. So if you can hear little one in the back there, but I think his heart's just popped around with an Easter egg for him. It's a little bit excitable. And I will say as well, quarantine in place, it was a doorstep drop off just seeing it happen out the window. Okay, so let's just give him a bit more rounding on the back of the legs. Okay, and that'll be it for the legs. For the stomach, we're not really going to see it, I don't think, but I'm just going to control shift and click the hands and things like that to get them out of the way. That'll just hide these areas. And in this bit, I just want to go and build up with the let's give them a couple of just the impression of a bit of cloth here. Oops, like I said, I'm not overly fussed about making it realistic. It's just something to pick up a bit of texture when you're painting. Give you a little bit of interest in your work. So again, I'm going to go and put a ridge in with the inverted orbs brush. If you haven't got the orbs brush, by the way, you can use Damn Standard. It's one of the standard ones that ships with Zbrush, and it's on every version of it I've ever used. So whatever version you're using, you've probably got that. And I'm just going to go back in now, just cutting with the orbs cracks brush again. Okay, and then let's connect a few up there and just give it a. Okay, so I'm liking the look of that now. It's going to dynamesh this one? Yeah, I'm just going to turn polish on, up the resolution a little bit. Oh, it won't let me do it because it's hidden, sorry. There we go, and you see it's smoothed out a little bit of the, kind of increased the resolution now. Some of these blockiness we're getting is gone. So I'm just going to run over the bits that are still a little bit pixely. Just give them a little bit of a smooth over. Knock back some of the roughness. Okay. Now these trousers, I believe, are absolutely begging for blue and white stripes painted on them. So I think I'm imagining that already as I'm going. Right, now the arm up here, I'm just going to use the clay build-up tool. I have to question myself then. Clay build-up tool. I'm going to put a little bit of detail in, a little bit of mast for the bicep. And let's go and move the shoulder pads out of the way a little bit because I think they're a little bit too. Go too far down. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to go and again a little bit of reshaping, a little bit of moving. And one of the things I'm just going to do here, because I'm going to put a leather strap through there, I'm just going to cut a little, not very precisely, I'm not fussed about precision here. I'm not fussed about it joining up here because it's going to go all the way around. I want it to meet that little pad rather than the big one. Okay. So re-dynamesh that. Make sure I've got some good geometry to work with. Go back to my oil crack. I'm just going to again just cut in the elbow, soften it off, just to give me a nice sharp bit of definition there. And then we're going to go and there we go. A couple of folds. Around the back. Same again. There you go. So I'll add a little bit of again, a little bit of random detailing if you like, just to say this is a bit of a soft material, nothing too hard and firm. Just going to cut these in a little bit, just okay. And then I want to just bring that little top bit of sleeve up using the move tool, not the Orbs Cracks brush. Put it into the right place. Okay, now this bit where I've just added this, actually let's just knock this back because I've just pulled this back into the on top of the armour. Let's give it a little crease coming out there, I think. There we go. I'm not going to do that on this side yet because he's going to have some, I think he's going to have a bare arm on this side, so I'll sculpt a bit of the muscle on this side. This side is going to be clothed, obviously, as you can see. So we're just going to drop a subtool, append cylinder. I'm just going to go to scale, I'm just going to shrink it right down, rotate it around, lift it up. It's way too big still, but hey ho. Let's get it to roughly the right place. And if I miss, I don't care because I'm going to mash it around with the move brush in a bit anyway. One of the important things I'll say now is the way I sculpt these models are never going to be animated. They're never going to be you know, CG figures or anything like that. They are only ever going to be a model in a single pose. So whilst I can do a repose by just resculpting the base mesh on a different position and copying and pasting tools if I need to. There you go, and just move some of that around with the move brush. Yeah, basically I'm not too fussed there about everything being posable. Because I'm not worried about posability, I'm going to worry about sculpting every last little bit of detail, just the stuff we're going to see. It doesn't have to perfectly make sense. It just needs to be the impression of detail, if that makes sense. Okay, so how are we doing for time on this one? Where we are? 21 minutes so far. Okay, let's go for a few more minutes and I'll just get the other bit, because the other bit we're talking with drapery then. So the next thing we're going to add on is I'm going to put a sphere on. I'm just going to move this up to the head, shrink it down so it's there. And you can start with any sort. It could be a cylinder, it could be a cube. I'm going to give him a little scarf because I like putting a bit of movement on my models. So he's going to have a scarf with a little bit of a billow, probably out to the left, I think. So we're going to bring this down. Now this is still the basic sphere. This hasn't had any extra geometry added or anything here. I'm not going to try and like refine it too much at the moment. It's going to be quite rough, and that's the best way of working on this, because you start getting too precise and you can't really then alter the forms very easily. Okay, so it's going to be a 2-layer one, a bigger bit at the top. Okay, so I'm just going to dynamesh this now, polish it, put it to about 500 and go. Run over with a smooth just to give me a bit of a clearer visibility of what I'm dealing with. Onto the Zbrush brush. Right, so I know I want a cut here. Okay, so we're going to cross it over here, so this goes around here, and then this is going to become the billow. Oh dear, grab the, I keep grabbing this little head thing in the corner, it's just annoying then. Okay, so again, with this kind of thing, I'm using the orbs cracks to do the build up. Build it up, knock it back, build it up, knock it back, get the shape you want. gone a bit too deep on that one now. And then this bit that I wanted to extrude out, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to mask lasso. Oh god. Hold the mask button, control. I'm going to mask off everything that isn't what I want. And then I'm going to go to the the move tool, large move tool. I'm going to grab the end of this. I'm going to bring it out. I'm going to dynamesh it because I need to, because I've just stretched all the geometry out there. And then I'm just going to use the move tool to give me a bit of thickness to this, because I want to change the shape of it entirely. I'm going to have a nice bit of jaggedness to this as well, so it's not going to be, I'm not going to polish and sharpen up the edge too much, because this is an evil dwarf. And one of the things we do when we say evil is we put holes in things and give them raggedy tatty clothes and busted armour and stuff like that, and that's one of the things that one of the ways you know they're a good guy or a bad guy when you're sculpting miniatures. It's all to do with the accents you add on, the little nuances of detail, and the styling. Now obviously this guy is accompanying a skeleton. I've done a big orc warrior whose armour's all battered and everything as well. So I will do the same with him. I'll go and add some dents and dinks and stuff into the armour, some cuts and gashes and things like that. And then on this bit of cloth around his neck, we're going to add a few, like, you know, holes where the moths have been at it, and you know, he may have taken an arrow through the scarf, or you know, dodged a sword blade and it's taken a nice nick out of it. So okay, so yeah, I've got a little bit of a wobble going on in the bottom of the scarf here. As much as I say I don't worry too much about those kinds of things, I don't like wobbly lines. So I'm not worried about things being entirely accurate, but I want it to look smooth and flowing. So okay, so let's just go and get the clay build up. I'm just going to refine this little bit around the edge here where it's okay. So again, just somewhere where I see oddities and bits that need a little bit of extra building up or whatever else, I'm going to just switch back between the different tools. And as you can see, I've set some hotkeys down the bottom, some hotkeys, some quick links to the tools that I use a lot. So the primary ones for me are the clay build-up, which you can see me using now, orb cracks, which I use for getting a nice sharp edge on things, cutting in and doing detailing. So use it small with a low focal shift to get a very, very, very tight gouged line. Or use it with a large brush and a zero focal shift to make it soft and useful for cloth. And again, soften it out and do stuff as well with it. So You're not always just taking it as it is. Okay, so here I'm just going to go and reprofile the scarf. Take it down to the armour. Okay. So I'll just adjust this last little bit here. Better. And that bit as well, I think. Okay, and then the final thing, I'm just going to dynamesh this. I'm going to go back to me, it's not all cracks, okay, light brush and go tools. I've also got these ones here that I use they're for metal originally, so you got dents, divots. Divots are particularly good for making it look like you're taking a mace hit or a ricocheted shot or something like that, but the AIG carve brush is very good for this kind of thing. Put in a couple of nice big... you do need to make sure you turn back face mask on. If you don't know where back face mask is or what it does, sometimes when you sculpt something that's got a lot of intensity in the brush, it goes through to the other side of the mesh, and you end up with the inverse of what you sculpted on one side popping out on the other side. This carve brush tends to do that quite a lot, so you turn back face mask on, and then whatever I sculpt on that side, no matter how deep, won't appear on the other side. So it's going to undo that. And if I've obviously got it shortcutted here because it's one I use a lot, but if not, you go to the brush menu, scroll down to masking, auto masking, sorry, and it's just down here in the auto masking menu, and that is one I would suggest that you bookmark onto your shortcuts. So I was going to go for quite a large brush size. Focal shift is 100 on it, so it's going to give us a nice sharp edge to it. Pick the edge of the model. I'm just going to pull it back. You want high Z intensity on this because I want it to really kind of go deep. Because again, when you're dealing with miniatures, you don't have the luxury of super fine little details, because all of those little details you're sculpting have got to be visible, because if they're not, you might as well not bother with them. Okay, so I'm just going to put a few of these in, and they can go in different places. I'm going to open them up a little bit anyway, but this is how you make cloth look tattered. And to a point, less is more, but make sure you get enough in there. I'm going to go for clay build up on the end as well. I'm just going to go and take a chunk out of this one. Move tool, I'm going to move it and shape it and bring that down here, I think, and then take this one back. Just trying to create a less regular pattern on the end of the cloth. Go in with the move tool, make it nice and clay build up, sorry, make it nice and small, and I'm going to go and inversely cut a few little circles, open up some of these little gashes, and jaggedy up the bottom, and I'm going to smooth polish and re-dynamesh all of this in a bit, so the finer elements of the texture I'm not going to worry about. Now this bit, because you can see it from both sides, does need to be addressed from both sides. You can't just do one and then leave it, unfortunately. So it's starting to get distorted now, so I do need to be doing me dynamesh again in a minute. There's no formula for this, by the way. It's not something that you can kind of, you know, just say, oh, it's place it here, 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 and here. This is just like rule of cool. So whether I think it's going to look good, but again, don't go too small, don't go too fine. If you start going a little bit too, you know, micro with the detailing, it's not going to show up on the model when it's printed. Okay, so let's just gash that out there a little bit and blend it out. We'll go back to the all cracks. We'll just no, that's what we want. Go back to all cracks. I'm just going to pull a few where it's gone a bit soft on the edges. I'm going to drag a few out. Okay, so I'm going to call that, no, let's just go for a, oh no, that's not right. Small but high intensity. That gives a nice, take a few across the thing to break up the flow a little bit. You don't want them all to be the same direction. Okay, and I'm going to call that done. I'm going to come on to the close here. I'm just going to add a few little nicks and cuts. Okay, so nothing mega, but they may not show up in the print depending on print quality, print size and whatever else, but hopefully they'll pick up a little bit of the ink washes and things you use. But one thing I am going to show you before I knock this one on the head is stitching. So the best way of doing this, the easiest way of doing this, and again, is to use a brush for it. I went on to cubebrush.co and I've picked up these brilliant stitch brushes. So they're called the Seams brush, and I mean they're really effective. You turn the Z intensity up to about 20, 27 or something like that, size about there maybe, and you see it just draws these lovely big stitches on. They've got a good bit of depth to them. Got a bit of weirdness going on up there, but I think this is down to the resolution of the models quite low. Double the resolution on it first and then do that again. That's the weird shape there, I think, but always go a little bit larger on the brush. There you go, so you do that and then Dynamesh it, and there you go, blended in lovely. And I've barely got to do anything with that. You know, I'd quite happily leave that as it is. However, if you haven't got the tool, you don't know what you're doing with it, I'm just going to show you another way of doing it. So again, high intensity, small ties, using the old cracks or damn standard, and let's just go and cut the actual seam in. Okay, so there we go, we've got a seam on the trousers. I'm going to go clay build up. Size to about that, about 20, and this is again proper rough and ready, because I'm going to Dynamesh it again. It's going to be smooth polished. You're not going to see all the roughness that's going on, all the odds and irregularities and stuff. You can stagger these and make it look a bit ramshackle and ragtag if you like, and they don't all have to be straight, they don't have to be evenly spaced. I'm going to go over some of these that are a little bit undefined. They need to be visible on the last model. If they're not visible, there is no point in sculpting them whatsoever. And that, I think, is going to be visible. There we go. So then the final thing I do then is go back to wall cracks, small, high intensity. I'll just go around the stitch points, so where the stitch enters the cloth. And it takes a little bit longer than the stitch brush I showed you, but it means obviously everyone is unique. There's no cookie cutter look about it. Okay, so again, there we go. So I mean, that is probably my preferred look, to be honest, as far as the stitching goes. I'll just quickly go down this leg and I'll do the same. So about right, a bit big, isn't it? So we'll go back to 27 or something like that. Back to the clay builder. Okay, so again, small size, high intensity. Okay, there we go. So now I've got two legs with stitching. We've got sleeves with the folds. We've got a belly with the material creases in there to show you it's a cloth jumpsuit or shirt or whatever else. However, I decide to detail it from there. And then a scarf to give them a little bit of movement, a little bit of billowing. And then the sword to placeholder is going to be a different one there, but he's going to be basically cutting into his hands. I'm going to have blood trickling down the sword and dripping off. I might do the dripping blood as an option, and then the dwarf head, and I've got to decide what he's going to be standing on. Is he going to be a rock? Is it going to be a treasure chest, a barrel, or maybe some kind of decapitated monster head? Maybe cool. We'll see. But yeah, thanks for tuning in on this one. Again, if you've got any more questions on cloth or materials, you want to see how anything else goes, then drop them into the comments below. And yeah, I'll do my best to answer them and give you my take on them. Okay, cheers guys, happy sculpting.